Hi, and welcome. Welcome to another edition of the Code Remix Weekly. With you here is my name is Tim Beek, and with me is Sam Schneider.
Hello, everyone.
And it's been an interesting week. I've been mostly out for the past week or so, so I'm catching up a bit on all the things that have been new in the past week, and I'll take you through that with a couple of slides as well. Because of course, last week was JFall, and at JFall we were presented with a very nice, subtly in the corner of my screen here, Innovation Award, where we regrettably didn't win, but we did make it to the final three. So
this is an Innovation Honorable Mention, or Innovation Top 3?
Yeah, it was one of the most innovative projects co-developed in the Netherlands. And then, yeah, so I have that one. I have another one in my left-hand corner where you have the jury report. But of course, that's mostly what I've been doing since last Wednesday and Thursday. And then with that, I'm going to take you through the things that have been new while I was mostly out. And one thing is, this new is that we are almost through with a complete new release cycle of OpenRewrite. So as you know, we do a new release every 2 weeks. And we tried to do one on schedule last week, but there were some regrettable issues with credentials and soda type, and things just didn't work quite well. So now finally this week, we're catching up to everything that has been new in the past 3 weeks. And I'll give you a summary as soon as I have that overview for myself as well. But know that there's a new release coming out right now, and then probably the next one is going to be 2 weeks out. So that's and it's following in everything that we have done over the past 3 weeks, including what Sam covered last week, Lombok support, which is now available under a feature flag, because we found some small, let's say, things that could be improved in the parser. And of course, we want it to work well for everyone out of the box, so we put it under a feature flag right now. And then we'll catch up with new features as we continue work throughout the coming weeks. So that is new. That's go look for the 8.40.2, and we have matching releases for the Maven and Gradle plugin already. And pretty soon we'll have a rewrite recipe bomb release that ties together all those recipe modules, all those improvements folks have been working on into one big bomb that you can use to align your versions. And of course, also new is that, or not as new, but something that we want to highlight here is that we have the Code Remix Summit next May in Miami, and we have a VIP code that you can use. It's in the ticker on the bottom of the screen. Where if you want to get your tickets with I think $300 off, it's quite worthwhile. Then definitely check out that code. It's Modern 3 VIP, and it will get you $300 off on the tickets for that. And it is looking very, very interesting. So we have some top of the bill speakers right here. Of course, our own Jonathan Schneider will be there, but also well-known speakers like Chris Jenkins, Venkat, Josh, Emily, and then Pratik and Olga Justine from OpenRewrite. Both of us will be there, so if you want to see us face-to-face, also be sure to come out. So that is all coming there. And if you want to share the stage with us there, then you can also submit to our call for papers. So there is a link that we can share in the chat right now, where if you have a use case related to OpenRewrite or Modern that you want to share with a wider audience, then you can submit a proposal here. It'll be judged, and from there we hope to see you in Miami in May.
And if you've done something with OpenRewrite or Modern and you're not sure if it rises to the level of something worth presenting about, whether or not it's presentation worthy, I would love to hear about it in our OpenRewrite community Slack. So come on by and tell me about what you've done, and who knows, maybe maybe you're downplaying it to yourself, and it is something that's even if it's small, if it's cool or widely useful to other people or highly useful to a very specific subset of developers, could still be worth presenting about and sharing with everyone. So yeah, if you're building ongoing open invitation, if you do something cool with Open Rewrite, come tell me about it.
Absolutely, and it's fun as well because I remember starting out with public speaking a couple of years ago, where you think you have to be at a certain level to be able to present. Nah, no, you start somewhere, and might as well start with something that you're passionate about. So if you have a passion project related to OpenRewrite and Modern, then of course come share with us. And I've even done some one-on-one coaching on like abstracts to get things ready to submit, and then from there, see what you have to share. And we can work
Tim's
on
a
it.
good person to coach on that, as you've gotten more abstracts accepted than anyone else ever, I think, at this point.
I've been fortunate. I was like, you work for the right project, have some friends, and then you get to travel. It's feeling
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
So yeah, now do reach out. We have the public Slack if you have any questions, and then we'll hope to see you there. Then also, if you are in Plano, Texas today, you can actually see Jonathan present already, where he'll be presenting on the state of AI in large-scale automated refactoring as a Java user group. So I think it's free to enter, but they do ask that you register, and then you can see all of that. So it's in Plano, Texas. Of course, yeah, if you're not in the neighborhood, you're unlikely to make it. But if you are, it might be interesting to check that out as well. Then, as an online thing, which you just missed, is what's better than doing one live stream on a Wednesday evening? It's doing 2 live streams. But this was very fun, where I took folks through writing custom open rewrite recipes, taking them through the rewrite recipe starter and the workshop that we have, and of course the tooling that we have at Modern to do that impact scan and writing recipes in this way. So if you want to have the slides there, I'll share those after this one, because they're back to back. But know that that is available as well. So then also new is that we have published a new edition of the Modern Monthly newsletter, where it's a bit of a write-up of all the things that you might have missed as if you're not fully caught up to date. I saw Michael Kepler saying that he very much enjoyed the JUG presentation. Thanks a lot, and thanks for joining both that one and here and helping out in the open source community. Great to see you. And then with the newsletter, we kind of do a recap every month if you want to know things that are new in OpenRewrite and Modern in a written form on LinkedIn. So be sure to check that out. And it also announces some events further out, so the ArchConf and the Tech Leader Summit, and some videos that are on our YouTube channel. So then, as a final thing new this week is that we have a new video out, which again, I believe a familiar voice has done the honors of taking you through how you can find SQL in code and resource files. So it's a recipe. I think I made some improvements recently. The details of which I've forgotten since, because I'm doing a lot of things all over the place. But it's a really helpful way to help you find any place that you might be using SQL, which could be in some annotations, could be in arguments towards methods, it could be in separate files. And all of these, then you kind of want to have a grip on where they are in your code. And then also you can use this to create exports. You can get a data table of which columns are used and which tables are used. From there, maybe if you want to make some structural changes to your database, be fully informed across your entire organization what is being used where and how that ties in best. So check out the video if you want to learn more. And of course, the recipe is available from our catalog and can be run in various ways. And we, of course, recommend Modern. So that's it in terms of things new this week. So I hope you enjoyed that. And then with that, I think we're going to move on to the main topic for today.
Yeah, although I have, I guess, one update about last week's topic where I excitedly announced our Lombok support to the world. Since implementing that and kicking the tires on it a little bit, we found a number of problems, places where mixing in the Lombok annotation processor has messed up other parts of our parser's conversion from the compiler internal abstract syntax tree to the lossless semantic tree that recipes operate on. So there's a bit more work to do here. So I've reopened the support Lombok annotations issue, outlined what's going on, and between meetings and other live streams, I'm working through this stuff. So right now, I would say that Lombok is not supported properly, but we're working to get that done and to get that turned on. Ultimately, not just in the Java 17 parser, but in Java 8, 11, 21, everywhere relevant. So if you've been patiently waiting for more Lombok support, patiently wait a little bit longer. You waited 4 years since the beginning of the project. What's one more week or 2 more weeks, as the case may be? But either way, I'm working on it. It's coming, and it's gonna be good once all of the kinks are worked out of the process. But kind of on to today's subject, we've had a pretty cool contribution around type references in non-Java files using the OpenRewrite trait system. And this is kind of played out over two pull requests or commits that have been merged recently by Lawrence and Knut, Modern employees and contributors to a variety of things, usually on the language engineering team. So these guys are taking a bit of a break, perhaps, from. Well, no, it's not fair to characterize it as taking a break from the C# support and other language expansion efforts they're working on. But just, sometimes you need to switch up what you're doing for a while. You focus on one project all the time, and you need a bit of a palate cleanser before you can freshen your mind to refocus on that original task. So the palette cleanser they chose in this case was around detecting Java types referenced in XML documents. Now, users of Spring are probably already familiar with the idea that many beans can be, a bean being a Java class which has getters and setters for all of its various fields, and conforms to a few other requirements, and are the common parlance of the Spring ecosystem. And these bean classes can be declared in Java, just as any other class can, but there's also an XML format in Springland, which lets you declare classes. And so if you wanted to, do things like find references to a type, as you might do during a code search scenario, and you were looking for usages of a particular type, or to just find all of your Spring configuration or whatever other kind of like search or refactoring task you might have in mind, being able to, well, you'd just be not getting the full picture if you were only looking at Java source code, as many of the types in question are, in this case, in XML documents. And we don't normally think about an XML document as containing a Java type, but like these ones clearly do, right? So if you are having an XML document which references the Spring Beans schema, then you can declare bean classes in XML like this. And so any given search for like find types, or find any kind of search or refactoring operation that wants to operate on these types should work on these XML documents if it's going to be comprehensive, right? And a code search that isn't comprehensive is substantially less useful than one that you know to be comprehensive. And so in this Spring reference class and test, they have created a trait, which you might remember from previous Code Remix weeklies, a trait which can identify type references in XML documents and highlight them. So that code searches can be made aware of that. And so this Spring reference class is the heart of this change. And like most traits, it begins with a matcher, which is accepts a cursor to a place in a cursor being keeps track of of where you are in a document while OpenRewrite is visiting it, and it tests the cursor to say, are you looking at an AST or an LST element that has this particular trait, this trait of being a Spring type reference in an XML document? And so, whether it's looking at an XML attribute or a tag, it checks for that. And then once it has identified that it is in fact looking at a trait of that kind, the matcher test method will return one of these Spring reference objects, which will have the information in it about whether if you're looking at an attribute or a tag or whatever kind of XML thing you're looking at that is a Java type reference. And this can be, once you have this trait, you can kind of trivially turn it into a recipe. If you've worked with traits much at this point, you may have already seen this syntax where you can you can turn a trait into a visitor by calling the matcher and calling as visitor, in which you provide a lambda or a function that you want to execute on anything that is found that matches that particular trait. And so here is how the search recipe, which adds these search results to this XML document, is constructed without without like even having kind of the conventional visitor wrapper around it. And of course, you could also use this within a visitor. Now, I believe that that this has already been extended so that change type and some other type manipulating recipes like change type and change package are now aware of this trait, so that when previously these files would only touch Java source code, now thanks to this trait providing a unified interface, as it were, around identifying the presence or non-presence of a type, whether that's in Java or XML. These recipes are now extended with this new abstraction to be able to operate on more types of source file than they were before. And so, which points to one of the kind of key considerations that might come up that might lead you to decide that a trait is the right thing for you or the right thing for your recipe design. If you are finding that you have a concept that has multiple different manifestations, that there's different, like you have a concept of a type, for example, that appears one way in Java and one way in XML and one way in this other context. Well, now you could create a trait which unifies these different representation of the same concept in a shared interface where you can put shared behavior in order to simplify and unify how different recipes might operate on that concept. And so this is you can obviously have traits that do not cross language boundaries, right? You can have a trait just purely within a Java source file of like you could have a trait about a variable that is written to but never read from, for example. And so something like that would be a trait that some variables would have and other variables would not, that wouldn't necessarily cross language boundaries in the same way this does. But I would say both of those are good uses of the trait concept. So whenever you're trying to like build a higher layer of abstraction on top of the LST, stop and think whether a trait might be the right way to express that, given that they can be used both. You can like take a trait and directly like create a visitor or a recipe from it where that makes sense, or use it within the context of another visitor or recipe on kind of an ad hoc basis. And so this is a really cool thing that you, our viewers, who are surely our most impassioned and advanced recipe authors and OpenRewrite users, might be interested in adding to your repertoire of recipe development design patterns and capabilities. So yeah, check that out. The place to look, and this is checked into rewrite on the main branch. So I'd say if you're interested in this, go check out the Spring reference type and the Spring reference test, which I think provides a really good onboarding point to this concept of what a trait is and how you can use it to kind of build abstractions that cross language boundaries, document boundaries, and just generally provide a new kind of way of developing open rewrite recipes. Yeah, so I don't know, Tim, you have anything to add to my monologue?
Oh yeah, sure. So there's two aspects we haven't yet touched on. So
Mm-hmm.
one of them is that this is about to be integrated into Rewrite Migrate Java, where of course we are doing tons of change packages, change types, when it
Yeah.
comes to, for instance, the JavaX to Jakarta move, where a lot of classes moved, and now we have to upgrade not just the Java files, but also additional files like XML bean descriptions, but it could also be like your JSP files or any kind of even HTMX. All need to be upgraded, and of course, this is a perfect mechanism to decouple that change. We're not going back to update the recipe for change type to be able to do all of this, but we're going to write these types of Spring references, which are then loaded through a service loading mechanism to be able to do it in this way. So there's no reference to that Spring reference in the change type or any of those, but those could be in a recipe module that you develop. So in time, we're going to probably move that Spring reference to rewrite Spring or rewrite migrate Java, and it will just work, even though that the change type and all of those recipes are in the OpenRewrite rewrite module itself. So that's a really
That's
neat
convenient.
aspect.
That makes a lot of sense. I'd seen the service loader stuff when looking at these changes, but hadn't immediately clicked for me why that mechanism was in there. But that makes sense, since that would allow you to to go and fetch the type reference service or whatever it is at runtime
Yeah.
without having to either move Spring exclusive concepts into rewrite core or rewrite Java, or do some funky reflection stuff to to
Yeah.
get at it.
And of course, our friends with Micronaut and Quarkus, they will have similar use cases, and we can leverage the same mechanism. And the core wouldn't need to know about the specifics.
Yeah.
So that's very
And so
cool.
Michael has a great question about this, about whether it would be possible to add more type references and other kinds of files without touching the existing change type recipe. And I'd say, yeah, that's the ultimate goal, that if you create this abstraction about like what a type reference is, then you can add more and more realizations of that concept into the trait. And then any recipes that have been adapted to use the trait will just now start operating on those new things without the recipe itself having to change. So that's one of the big benefits here of doing this kind of trait kind of thing. Before we had this concept, and I was writing like a lot of dependency management recipes for Gradle and for Maven and other build tools. Well, actually, not mostly just those two build tools, actually, but but even those were enough to be
Variation
repeating.
enough. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of variation just with the Gradle of dependency declarations. So yeah, when I was writing those recipes, I found myself writing a lot of very similar code to like, am I looking at the dependencies block? Am I looking at which method am I looking at within the dependencies block? Is it in this notation, this way of declaring a dependency, or this other way of declaring a dependency? And now that we have traits, and we don't necessarily have a fully fleshed out trait for that, but it presents an opportunity to have some of that logic shared and reused, rather than replicating it between recipes quite as extensively as we may have had to copy and paste in the past. So yeah, Michael, I would say that the kind of thing you describe is explicitly the goal of traits, to be able to do that, build higher level abstractions on top of the LST, so that recipes don't have to repeat themselves or repeat each other maybe quite as much as they have up until now.
Yes, absolutely. It's a very nice decoupling where we have the LST elements to model what the source code looks like, and then we have the recipes that want to ideally not have to know too many of those specifics, and then traits are a perfect in between to they just operate on the concept that you want to operate on, not the specifics of how it's implemented.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, let's see it. Tim, do you want to show that rewrite migrate Java PR? Was there anything worth showing to the audience in there, or should just
Yeah, sure.
curious minds follow up on their own later?
I try to share the screen without breaking my laptop. I've not had the best luck today with
I mean,
share
usually to share your
screens.
screen, you don't have to physically break it off and like hand it to someone.
Yeah,
So hopefully you don't have to do that this
it's like
time.
there's some nagging pop-ups that I should be updating things and all of that,
Oh
but
yeah,
that's just never a good moment. It's just
I get.
too much to
Yeah,
do.
I feel that.
So what we have here is you're looking at the Rewrite Migrate Java project, and that's specifically the PR that is intended to add the usage of the change type Spring reference integration to be able to achieve exactly this. So we have a recipe in here for the Jakarta EE9 migration, where they say that we have a package to move from the deprecated JavaX JMS to Jakarta.jms. Now, this recipe doesn't need to change. It doesn't change in this PR at all. It's just going to reuse the existing change package to move you from Java XJMS and Jakarta to Jakarta JMS and make that recursive as well. So we're not making any changes here. And the only thing that the pull request adds is it adds a unit test to kind of like showcase that we can do this thing without having to do anything specific in this module, without having to know that it is a Spring tied XML file. We're just going to work out all of that through that surface loader mechanism and see it work well to do the replacement here from Java JMS connection factory to the Jakarta JMS connection factory. So that's additional functionality that you get for the existing recipe that you have, now also applied to files that previously were just never going to do a Java type change, and now suddenly they're going to be updated as well. So really, look very much forward to pulling this in various different ways to do more of these changes across more files than we had press released before, to just see how that works very well.
Yeah, excellent stuff, Tim. Yeah, I think this really shows the kind of the way forward for higher level abstractions and open rewrite. I mean, there's so many attributes that a piece of code has. You know, any relationship that a piece of code might have to any other piece of code is potentially, as long as it's something you could examine and determine programmatically, something that you could make a trait for. And in this way, you know, as we have this essentially very low level API in the LST, I mean, yeah, there's some advanced stuff on there, but it's kind of like all of the bits are out in the open for you, you know, and often, you know, talking about the details of an individual identifier or field access or whatever is a lower level of abstraction than we as programmers or recipe authors really want to be operating on. Like, I want to make a recipe that operates on variables that are written to exactly once, right? Because I could do something cool with like improving multi-threaded performance or whatever. And that's just a higher level question than like than is on the like j.identifier class directly. And so traits provide the design path forward to those loftier goals of what the API could enable recipe authors to do with ease.
Yeah.
Oh. Well,
So yeah,
I think that's
good
about
stuff.
all the kind of prepared remarks or content that I had today. Anything else we should cover on this topic, Tim?
Yeah, I think that's the thing that I had in mind to share. So it's partly in progress. Some of them will be the last PR I showed you will probably be merged by tomorrow, and then the next release will be in a couple of weeks. But then I think we're gonna see this pattern adopted more widely, and then get those benefits into the project incrementally.
Heck yeah. Well, all right. I think that is probably a good place to leave it for this week. Then, do we have any closing remarks? I guess definitely come sign up to meet us in Miami in 2025. It's going to be a lot of fun. Uh, and I'll see you on the open source community Slack for everything else. In that
Absolutely.
case, until next week, I've been Sam, and this has been
Yeah.
Tim.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, and see you all soon. Cheers.
See y'all soon. Bye.
Okay. Bye.